Hope all is well. Today, we are back on the topic of jobs. Yes, it has been at least 6 months since us hosts started our first jobs. We wanted to take time just to chat and reflect on how it has been, basically taking a jab at our jobs. Throwback to the sleepless night before the first day of work and to now. We'll share a little bit about how we might have changed throughout the span of 6 months and just how we took on the corporate world. I hope this episode helps in any way for those soon to be grads or just a toast to the past for our older listeners. With that being said, let's just dive in.
Okay, so I guess I'll start first. And just as Hans said about that sleepless night before the first day of work, that's exactly what happened to me. I couldn't sleep at all. I flipped in my bed all night, just waiting for the first day to start. Because it's the first day of work, you think so much about like, should I arrive there on time or should I be there 5 minutes earlier or should I be there 10 minutes earlier? And should I notify the HR before I arrive? And, you have this series of questions, which you don't usually think about too much. I just remember being so baffled by these questions. But then when I went in, it was just the usual training and then the introduction part where I was taken to every part of our office. And then I don't know what, about you guys, but for me, I had to stand in front of the whole office workplace. Our office is like one big room where everybody, you can see each other, you can talk and discuss and all that. And being asked to stand in front of that whole office place and introduce myself, that was very, very nerve-wracking. And it felt like I was like the new character for a sixth season of a show where you feel like everybody knows everyone. There's connections already being made. There are friendships and relationships. And then I'm just someone who just barged in there hoping to be part of the main cast. And that just made me so nervous, but also very hyped at the same time. So what happened was every time my colleagues would introduce themselves, oh yeah, oh, hi there, hi, and call out each of the name. And usually I'm not like that. But I also remember the first day with my supervisor, like he walked me through the whole, what my role entails, all those responsibilities. He gave me like examples to work with. And then I got included in a call with one of the sources. Basically, I actually saw the whole thing going on at the workplace on my first day. And immediately I was hit with that professionalism and a little bit intimidated by it, but at the same time, make me very motivated, thinking, I have so much room for growth. I guess in the end, it was an exciting day for me. But like you see, like there was a series of emotions I just experienced. How was it for you guys?
So for me, I can really summarize it in 3 key words, which is nervous, excited, and then disappointed. Ooh. And I'm going to walk you guys through these 3 keywords. Nervous, like, of course, nervous always plays in on the first day, but my first day of work, I fantasize about office romance or like, let's just say I had really high expectations of what work culture would be like at a company. And I base it off, and I shouldn't do that, but I base it off, like K-drama office romance. Now I know it's not the reality. The K-drama romance is very exaggerated, but I was expecting a lot. So I was nervous, didn't really sleep much the night before, got to the office, had to fill in so many paperwork. And then the HR just showed me to my seat. And then I just sat across from my supervisor, not saying much. And then we only communicated through our chat platform that we have. Actually, after like 2 hours of sitting down and us talking in our work chat platform, she said, oh my God, let's have like a face-to-face meeting. And then we did. And I was like, okay. And that I was super nervous. And she kind of just talked to me about like our team culture, the work culture of the company. And I was like, okay, are you going to give me some stuff? And then she was like, no, I just want you to just watch Pirates of Caribbean this whole week. And that got me excited. I was like, oh, I want to do that.
Yeah, that's like watching a movie during a work
hour. That's the best, but it's to get me into the game that we're trying to build. And then what also was exciting was that there was like a team building dinner that was going to happen after work. And I thought it was a welcome dinner for me, but it wasn't. It was coincidentally their team building dinner that day. And I, perchance, happened to onboard the same day. But I didn't know that. I didn't know that until like an hour before the team building, the team building dinner started.
What a
so my
bummer.
supervisor told me, yeah, a bummer, which leads to my last keyword, disappointment, because I thought during the team building, maybe at that point in time, people will get to start to talk to me and I get to know more of my team members. But it didn't happen. We went into the restaurant and we sat in this round table. Everybody just pulled out their phones and start playing on their phones. Nobody wanted to talk to me. Nobody wanted to get to know me, except for my supervisor, which kindly talked to me. But then I realized that maybe this is the work culture in China, but doesn't seem like it because Cindy had a totally different experience. Cindy had a more welcoming experience than I did. If you're in a foreign country like China, and from my perspective, in a gaming company, you're surrounded by stereotypical nerds that don't want to talk to you. So I knew that the atmosphere wouldn't fit in on my first day, but luckily, you know, I had to go through this visa task that I have to do with the HR, and I met like an international friend there in that company. And then through that journey and experience, I found friends in the company who are not on my team. They're also international workers in the company.
So Angela, this was all in one day. Nervous, excited, disappointed.
Yes. These feelings, emotions all happened in one day. What about you, Han?
Well, for me, first of all, I got employed in a whole new country. It was my new environment. It was a new company. It was new everything. But overall, I'd say my onboarding first day of work was very exciting and I felt really welcomed in general. First day of work went smoothly. I met with my buddy or my shadow person and the onboarding team who were training, me on everything that had to deal with my company or what I needed to know. They were very excited to have me. So I really felt like, oh, I joined a community. Overall, nice experience. Everyone was really welcoming, warm. And unlike you guys, I onboarded online. Because of pandemic, Singapore was in a whole lockdown where you couldn't even dine outside. So everything was online. And I remember waking up in the hotel, like thinking to myself, this is my first day of work. And then walking to the chair right across the room and just sitting down, opening my laptop. I was like, I'm ready. I'm here. Yeah, that was my experience first day of work. After that, onboarding was really hardcore because I had so much to learn and so much to get to know the people and just the atmosphere. That was pretty hard and overwhelming, but overall, I think it all just came to me naturally when I was, interacting with different types of people. I still had this disappointment where I wasn't able to meet anyone face to face. Like I felt like the limit of how much you can get through online meetings and Zoom chats. That was a bit of minus, but too bad. Everyone deals with the pandemic. But overall, I thought my requirement for the job was pretty simple. And after getting through what I needed to do and my responsibilities, I just felt like, oh, I could do this. And then I kind of set like a mini goal to myself. After 6 months, I would be hopefully have some sort of skill that I had under my belt or gotten to know someone or, I had like a mini goal to myself just to kind of set a bar of where I wanted to go or what I wanted to do in the future.
Well, speaking about setting a goal for yourself for 6 months later, now it is 6 months later for us. Especially me, who onboarded later than you both. It's exactly been 6 months since I first joined my company. And now, I guess what was surprising about myself is I found myself being very adaptable to the new environment, which also kind of surprised my supervisor as well. one of his feedback for me was like, wow, like you only onboarded for 2 months and you're already so familiar with the process and all that. So that was something I learned about myself. And now, believe it or not, I'm training the newcomers as well. So it's just been half a year, not even, and I'm already teaching the next bunch of editors and analysts on my team on how this whole process works. And then in addition to this training, I'm also being asked to lead a few projects myself. So handling the editing side of some of the projects we have, writing a report, and then working with the lead analyst and the project manager to get the whole report out by the deadline to the client. So that was a very quick, I'd say, growth that I had just within 6 months. At the same time, holding more responsibilities, I also formed my own buddy group. Just like Angela, in her case, that also happened to me. I ended up being friends with people who are not in my team, but I found we had like share the same humor and all that. And I guess that's also something that came to me now. You slowly get to know more of your colleagues, their habits, their way of communication. And that has helped me to learn how to communicate with them in their way and how to work with them. And then in addition to all this communication, getting to know each other, you also feel like you can manage like the conflict of interest in the relationship you have with those who are above you. What I mean by that is also not giving to people about what they ask you to do when being like overloaded with work. That's also another way you've learned to like handle like what happens when, you know, you've been given too much work.
Yeah, not giving an F about anything.
Yes. Not giving 2F about times when you've been loaded with too much work. Whereas before during the probation, for example, I would have been super eager to do that stuff because I wanted to prove myself. Fair enough. First job, especially, you want to do a good job. Yeah, you want to do a good job on your first job. Yes.
State the obvious, Cindy.
Yes, state the obvious. But now, because you're already like, in a way, you're a set employee of the company. And it's like, if you don't do too good of a job, they can't exactly fire you, you know, that quickly. You are now kind of a permanent, important player on the team. So you learn to use that, like negotiate that, whatever workload you have with your supervisor or with the manager. In addition, you also know how to like negotiate your salary if that happens. So you're not being too afraid of trying to talk through, like at least, you know, give yourself a chance to being able to negotiate your position based on the stakes that you have and what the stakes the company have. And yeah, totally different from the nervous, young, naive girl, Cindy, from 6 months ago.
6 months ago. You have grown so much, Cindy.
Yes. And what about you guys?
For me, so like I mentioned, the friends that I made 6 months ago, they are honestly, genuinely the people that really keep me going at this job. Like I look forward to our luncheons because that's the only time where I get to socialize with people. Because at a position like mine, there is no socialization whatsoever. And a person like me, which I can't see or can't feel, which I don't know if you guys can feel the energy that I'm bringing to this podcast, but I'm a vibrant person. So I need some energy, sunshine around me.
Yes.
If that makes sense. I need people that are engaging not only as like a team, but engaging with each other as coworkers. I don't have that in my current role, but my colleague is really the only reason that keeps me going. And also, I used to fantasize my first job. I'm going to be like BFF with my supervisor. She or he is going to be my mentor. And then I'm going to be so close with them that when they leave, they're going to take me with them. And then we'll build a future together or something like that. But no, life is not like the movies. Some maybe if you're lucky, but majority of life is pretty dull. And me, my supervisor, although she is great and everything, we are just on a professional relationship, which I think in my role, it works well because it's hard to separate, you know, work and personal relationships sometimes when you get too close. And then after the 6 month mark, I actually found out what I really like to do. I really like some aspects of my job and I would like to continue that aspect, which leads me to understand that I like styling art. I like to give feedback on art because I like colors, even though I can't draw or I can't 3D animate or something. I'm able to, I don't know, connect with art at a level where I can just critique it, if that makes sense. So now at least I know what I would like to do more of in the future. So yeah, that's my 6-month mark.
I actually agree with that because it's kind of like a process of elimination. It's like find what you don't like, just cross it off and just move on to the next to find something that you want to do. And I think that has been on my mind recently since it's been around 6 months of work. I'm looking to what interests me and what, my passion is on like different industries or what I want to do in the future. So I think even though your first job may not be the best or what you imagined it would be, there's obvious opportunities for transfers, internal transfers in the company or transfers in general. Yeah, recently that's been on my mind. I think you get to see like the scope of your company and get to reevaluate what you can bring to a certain position and you kind of see the value that you can give. So you have much a better picture on what works for you and what I can do within this environment. Another thing is I do still feel kind of distant from my coworkers since they're working from another country. I did find people within my, office, but otherwise having coworkers not in your department but like close to you, like physical, I think is very important. You just find this connection that it's different from someone that you work very closely with. It's more of like a different relationship that you have in terms of like a work buddy. And I guess I also agree with Cindy about I now see newcomers and I sometimes shadow them and like train them. So you feel kind of this responsibility in your side about, oh, I have to keep up my performance and I have to showcase what I'm doing and make it seem glamorous and,
Yeah, you gotta pretend to be an expert.
Exactly.
When you're like, I'm actually still in training, like I have so much area of growth, but because you're new, I am like, I've been here quite a long time. You gotta listen to my opinion. My advice is the best.
Yes. I think it's pretty cool. It kind of shows you have experience now. And I also want to mention, I think one thing that I really felt was about how since we all graduated university and just got into this first job, I think it's very different in terms of perspective of like in university, you get a task like a project or a presentation, right? And you're starting it and you're ending it and you're doing everything in between. But like for me, working in a company, it's more like you are specialized in like your specific task and you're just a part of this whole long chain of producing something. So I think that's a bit different where it's like you might not feel like this is your own thing because you don't feel responsible for it, but you do have an important role in it.
Yeah, completely. Especially, with my job as an editor and analyst. Like an editor, there's no way for me to edit if I don't have analysts giving, their report, like their written work. So it's like it's a whole collaborative effort. And in the end, like everybody feels great when the project is out.
Another thing I wanted to mention was I realized when you're applying, your experience and the number of years are so important. It's like a requirement sometimes. But after working for 6 months, you feel like you don't judge anyone by experience, but how well they can do a task. When it comes to work, it's about what you can do, not more about what you have done or what this huge number of experience of years that you have under your belt. But anyways, last point is I think after 6 months, you kind of have to consider this big question of MBAs. I remember I really want to pursue an MBA in the future after 2 months, but now it's a big question still. Like I'm not even sure of it. So I don't know what you guys think about it.
Yeah, I also agree that my opinion of Finnish MBA completely changed during this time when I'm working. I was the same as you. I originally planned while we were waiting to graduate from senior year. I was thinking either I go to a company, work there for 2 years and then do MBA or like do MBA right away. But I always knew MBA was something I'm going to do. But now I feel like doing an MBA is like going back to school or something like that.
Right.
For me, it's not that urgent anymore. I feel like I have so much to improve, to build, to grow in my current role, in my current company. So why do I need to like start over this whole process again where I learn and then because like after MBA, you still need to find a job. You still need to go through that whole process again. But maybe you have like a higher position or maybe a higher salary at work. But then again, that's like competition. I feel like now like MBA is going to be a point in time where when I want to start my own business or when I need to find partners or something, then I would go. It's just completely changed perspective.
I agree. Like, well, I never even thought of MBA within my future, but I really only considered doing an MBA if and only I'm miserable at my job and I really needed a change. Then I'll apply for MBA. So MBA was always like a last resort for me because I don't know, like there really is a difference between being in a school life environment in the academia world and then being in the real world where you are working underneath a boss. Jumping back and forth with these environments will be very like tiring for me. I do not want to go back to the academia world. Like that door is closed. I'm gonna seal it, lock it, throw the key, and just walk away really nicely.
I think you put it really well. Like it's true. It's gonna be also a time process for you if you go back and forth between education and work, education, work. I do feel like now that we're in the corporate world, university life, it was pretty much in a bubble. You felt very protected and like it was just this community, everybody's just talking about ideas. Whereas society, it's different.
Yeah, I also think, you're stepping out of your current position to pursue something. And then you have to come back. It's also like a matter of FOMO, kind of like fear of missing out on like the trend and stuff. I think trends are so much faster and academics doesn't necessarily catch it and consume it as much than, being actually active in that world. So maybe something to consider. So many questions still.
Yeah.
Yes. So thank you guys for listening in today's episode where we're just really having a deep dive and a deep reflection on ourselves. It's actually a really great chance for us to verbalize and to see the growth and to actually realize that in the beginning, things change and things can change and to be receptive of that change. Because sometimes at the beginning of a project or at the beginning of your new journey, you feel like feeling will last forever and it may change to good or bad. And you just need to be open to those changes. So hopefully our points of views can help some of you guys think about your first days and think about your 6 months mark or your 5-year mark and see if our points can really help you guys self-reflect where you want to be right now and what you want to do. So thank you guys for tuning in our 10th episode. Jab at our job. I can't believe it's our 10th episode to even think about how we started this podcast in November of 2021 to now April of 2022. It's just so crazy. And if you haven't, please subscribe, like, and leave a rating for Banana Corn. And recommend this to all your family and friends. And follow us on Instagram, Banana Corn PD. And come back and join us on our next episode. This is Sass. Bye.
Bye.